Hey everybody, welcome back to Guns and Gadgets, your source for Second Amendment news. The year of 2018 is coming to a close, and if we're being honest, the Second Amendment, and those of us who support it, love it, and advocate for it, got our asses kicked. Yes, we got our asses handed to us several times throughout the year, and I thought that now would be a good time to take an honest look back at what the year, what took place, what transpired, and where we were let down, and what we need to do going forward. So please follow this video through, because at the end, I think you're going to be surprised with something that I say. This year, Michael Bloomberg and his Every Town for Gun Safety and Moms Demand Action pumped millions and millions of dollars into the midterm elections and kicked the Second Amendment's ass all over the country. And it's not stopping, which is what we need to be concerned about. We'll start with the midterm elections. There are 43 federal races where Every Town for Gun Safety backed a candidate. Specifically said this person is anti-gun, and we're putting money behind them. They won 77% of those elections. Every Town for Gun Safety spent $30 million in this election cycle all by themselves. Well, it's all Michael Bloomberg. It's all his money. But just that group, $30 million in this election cycle. How much did the Second Amendment groups spend? In what was termed to be 16 critical congressional districts that were up for vote, that were up for grabs, Every Town for Gun Safety put $5 million and motivated a group of 12.7 million young people, young voters, and got them out to push the word, to tell their friends, and they won 15 of those 16 elections that they specifically targeted in Congress. All in all, Every Town for Gun Safety endorsed 196 people nationwide in this election cycle, and their money got 150 of those elected. Now this year they did something different. They started terming their endorsements gun sense candidates. And those were people who said, and you've heard it, I'm sure you heard it in your state, those were people who said, I will not take $1 from the NRA or the gun lobby. Remember hearing that? Well, that won by a margin of 2-1. People came and they were drawn by that, saying, I won't take any money from the NRA. Knowing full well the NRA wouldn't have given them a dime, but it worked. It worked. Listen to some of these stats that I have here, okay? Because it's mind-boggling and how much money can buy Congress, governorships, all kinds of stuff, okay? During the midterm elections, more than 1,000 gun sense candidates were elected to office, which included 171 candidates elected to Congress, 15 governors, 12 attorney generals, or attorneys general, however you say it, 16 of Mom Demand Action volunteers and survivors of gun violence themselves were elected to office. The way that they swung the vote will really change things for quite some time, and we don't even realize the impact of what they just did. For instance, Georgia, Lucy McBath defeated an A-rated NRA incumbent who was Karen Handel. Now, I'll tell you straight up, the NRA ratings don't mean to me, all right? Because I did a video here on ratings and how some candidates are rated A, but they actually vote against gun rights, or they do nothing to protect the Second Amendment when the opportunity comes up. So the ratings mean jack squat unless they're from a real pro 2A agency. Like, there are some out there that grade people, like Gun Owners of America, for instance. When they don't hear what they want from a representative, they don't screw around. They yank their rating, and it has an effect. Can't say that for everybody else. In Colorado, Jason Crow defeated an A-rated NRA incumbent. In Nevada, another one lost, but to Steve Sisolak, a gun sense candidate. Kansas, same thing. All these former, pro-2A, right-leaning incumbents all got their teeth kicked in with these gun sense candidates. Bloomberg money. Now, every town for gun safety, Michael Bloomberg, Moms Demand Action, all those agencies, all those groups, the anti-gun groups, they prey off of the heartstrings and the pains. They use mass shootings to their advantage. And just following the Parkland shooting alone, every town's membership swelled by 700,000 members. They also realized 130 new grassroots donors this year alone, which brings their donors to more than 350,000 people. And something that we haven't seen before either, mayors, the local level, 98 mayors joined the group that they're calling Mayors Against Illegal Guns in 2018. And that's from 36 states that President Trump won. The tide turned big time in 2018, guys and gals. 20 states passed gun restriction type bills. 13 states now have red flag bills or extreme risk prevention order laws. They're not bills anymore, they're laws. DC passed its own. Numerous states tried passing it. While they didn't pass them before the end of the term, or they didn't make the vote, they are coming back next month for the new session. 9 Republican governors signed anti-gun restrictions. One of them is my clown in Massachusetts. Then you have notoriously pro-gun states, Kansas and Tennessee. They had laws that they put into effect that restricted guns and access to domestic violence abusers on misdemeanor levels. And then came the assault on the bump stock. Right after Vegas, coming into the new year of 2018, 10 states jumped on that right away. Massachusetts had to be the first in the nation to violate people's rights and ban a piece of plastic. And of course, the year ended with the president himself passing his illegal, unconstitutional order or the final rule where the ATF reclassified a piece of plastic as a machine gun. Amazing. Part of that process, before they came out with the final rule, I came out and so did many other gun channels, and the ATF had a public comment period where they elicited people from the public, people who sold bump stocks, made them, purchased them, and just to give them comments about, what would you support a ban on bump stocks? Now, the first open period was December of 2017, and 85% of the people who left comments were against the ban. But only 3 months later, in March of 2018, after Bloomberg spent $5 million specifically to this area, they ended up getting 73% of the people to support the ban during that commenting session. And you even heard when Trump was talking about the ban before it came down the pipe, the official rule was signed, that a majority of the people who made comments were in favor of the ban. It's just mind-boggling the direction this country is going, and it's ripe for a reset. Constitutional carry was attempted in 17 states where they were blocked. It failed because of Michael Bloomberg's dollars. It's amazing how one dude with a hair across his ass can influence the government on such a grand level. Government is supposed to be of the people, for the people, by the people. There's not a lot of people in there at all that are for us, of us, by us, and that needs to change. This year, after some school shootings, a bunch of states tried to pass bills where they would allow people to conceal carry on college campus. It failed in 16 states because of Everytown and Moms Demand Action and some others, but the driving force is Michael Bloomberg. Another 18 states failed in the kindergarten through grade 12, the high school, allowing people to, like teachers to carry and people picking up their kids to carry. It failed in 18 states. And that brings us to the NRA. For the first time since 2000, their ratings are in the negative. Now, while they were very, very vocal and very apparent during the presidential election 2 years ago, this year, on this cycle, they were non-existent. They even deleted a database of candidates and former ratings. Like I told you, the ratings scale it's BS. But they deleted their old ratings. And they even said that our enemies are using this. Well, every town immediately scavenged up those ratings and posted them. All 60,000 grades. And those stretch all the way back to 2009. Now this year the NRA supposedly has lost $55 million, which is one of the main reasons I'm sure they didn't spend money in these elections, right? For the first time we saw agencies separate themselves with what used to have NRA discounts, if you remember. Delta, Hertz Rent-A-Car, MetLife, and United, they all cut ties. And then you had places like Dick's Sporting Goods and Citigroup. They decided they weren't even going to, just going to cut off gun people. They were changing rules of how old you had to be to buy long guns, even though federally you had to be 18. And you all saw what happened with Dick's, right? They're about to go under. Then you had huge companies like Levi's and Tom's who were looking to pump money into the anti-gun realms as well. Like I said, the red flag law was big this year. 13 states now have it. That's 25% of the country. They are California, Connecticut, Indiana, Oregon, Washington, Delaware, Florida, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Rhode Island, and Vermont, and as well as Washington, D.C. inside the district itself. Now, Michigan, Ohio, and Texas, they're currently in the process of either passing or not a red flag law. Texas, all right? Amazing. Now, there's a list of states that proposed them this year, the red flag laws, and didn't get them passed, but have already stated they're coming back in the next term, which starts in, what's today? Today's date is the 29th, so in 4 days, the next term starts. And this is going to start popping up. Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Colorado, Hawaii, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Minnesota, Missouri, New York, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Utah. Utah. It's one of the places I got my first non-resident permit, was because it pretty much guaranteed I was covered in 36 states. It's coming, ladies and gentlemen. That would be 34 states, something like that, and the rest are coming. The federal red flag version's coming really soon, supported by and co-authored by Lindsey Graham from Republican, South Carolina, and was Blumenthal there from Newtown, Connecticut. It's coming. It's coming. Now, the red flag law is nothing other than an illegal, unconstitutional gun confiscation order that subverts your First Amendment, because they use whatever you say against you. In some states, they use what you say on Facebook or on social media. If you're pissed off and you're having a fight and you say something, they use it against you. You have it obviously strips you of your Second Amendment right, violates due process. You don't have any. You can't confront your accuser. You don't get to go in front of a jury of your peers. You don't get a judge to hear you at all. First, they just go in and seize your property illegally, an illegal search, taking your personal private property, stealing it, and then you have to fight for it later. And if you do win, what happens with your record now that you had a red flag? Will you ever be able to get a permit again? Those are things there are no answers for, because they haven't thought that far. Or maybe they have, because they just don't care if they screw you. We even saw the President's School Safety Committee come out, and in their report, if you read it, I put it in the video's description, they're begging states to come out with red flag laws. And there's a bill in Congress to give each state, $1 million if they pass a red flag law. They're looking to bribe states into passing unconstitutional laws to violate your Second Amendment. You can't make this up. Magazine restrictions. California, New York, and New Jersey took place. It just is coming at every angle. There's absolutely no denying that the anti-gunners took this year, have a stranglehold, and they definitely have the momentum, especially with the anti-gun Congress coming, led by Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein. It's going to be a very, very difficult 2019, which brings me to this. We had what was supposed to be the kingpin to fight for our rights wither away, turn its back on us. The NRA backed bump stock ban. the NRA backed red flag laws. But there were a couple agencies that stepped up. A couple off the top of my head: the Firearms Policy Coalition, Gun Owners Action League, Second Amendment Foundation. They all have recently launched federal lawsuits to fight some of these things that are going on across the country. And it'll probably be a long time, 6 months, 8 months to a year before those even play out. But what can we do in the meantime? Now, I've been thinking for a couple months doing this channel and all the stuff that's happening and how unbelievable it is. And I know this is a long video, but here comes a challenge. For each and every one of the 70,000 viewers I have here, for each and every one of the viewers I have on Facebook, for all the big gun channel guys, you name them, whether it's Jaeger, Hickok, Yankee, Never Enough Ammo, Mr. Guns and Gear, everybody. We all need to pull together. Every time the left, something goes against what they want, they rally, they march, they make their voices heard, and the squeaky wheel gets the grease. It's about time we march on Washington. I've been hoping that somebody who's bigger than me, has more money than me, has the ability to organize something, because I don't know anything about that. But I'm calling on the Second Amendment community to do a march on Washington. I'm calling on the major gun manufacturers who make hundreds of millions of dollars off of buffoons like me and you buying their product. I'm calling you out, Glock, Smith, Ruger, SIG, everybody who makes a nickel off of us here in this country to protect or help us protect the Second Amendment. Because ultimately, without it, you're broke. Because you can't all fight for the silly contracts that the government has or the police world. You can't. You won't be able to survive. So why not join us? All my contact information is in every video in the description. Maybe somebody who's a major coordinator can coordinate this. Maybe somebody who has money and can, like all these makers, can back it. Because every time something happens, Bloomberg or Soros or somebody's there with millions of dollars at a drop of a hat, and all the companies are there ready and to go and march and set up, and the lights and the pony show, everything is already ready, just waiting for the next shooting so that they can go make a crybaby scene, right? I mean, you got Hollywood celebrities who donate, businesses that donate, but nobody ever comes and does what's right for the people who are just looking out for the Constitution. So the challenge is out. Forward this to everybody you can possibly think of. Every single channel you can think of, all their Twitter, whatever. Every maker, manufacturer, seller, anybody who makes a nickel on the Second Amendment, challenge is out. Let's do a march on Washington. Let's get it done. There's 100 million of us in this country, supposedly. 100 million of us, right? Where are you? It's your time to step up. It's your time to defend the country. The people who are just shotgunners, the people who are just plinkers, the people who just shoot for fun, it's time. We need to band together now to strengthen numbers. We far outnumber these clowns. But we sit back and hope that somebody else will do it. Which is what I've had enough. Let's do it now. Well, it's December now. Let's wait till it warms up in DC. But let's march on DC. Let's do a 100 million man march. What do you think? Comment below. Spread this like wildfire. Let's get this done. As you can see by the stats I threw out there, we got our asses handed to us in 2018, and we can't afford it to happen in 2019. Till we see each other again, this is Jared from Guns and Gadgets. Be safe, stay vigilant, carry your weapon, spread this, let's get it going.